Welcome to an all-new episode of Get Lit with Lianna, the podcast. Join me as I sit down with a new guest author in each episode to discuss their books, careers, and everything in between. Today, I'm sitting down with one of my favorite romance authors, Ali Hazelwood, to chat about her new book, Love Theoretically. Absolutely love getting to reconnect with Ali to chat about the last year because she's had so much going on. We got to talk about the plans for the Love Hypothesis movie, which if you know me, you know I love a good book to movie adaptation. So I'm so excited for this one to come out, hopefully soon. And then we got into this book. We did a pretty deep dive of some of my favorite moments, the tropes, the character arc trajectories. And then we spoke about what Ali has coming down the pipeline, and she's got a lot going on. So this is a really, really fun episode. I love getting to chat with Ali. She's one of my favorite authors right now. So without further ado, my conversation with the one and only Ali Hazelwood starts right now. Welcome, Ali Hazelwood, back to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you back. I always say that now I'm getting to the part of the show where like a lot of my favorite authors have books. Like I'm just so lucky that you guys are all writing books like one a year. So I'm starting to get repeat guests, which is the best thing ever because there's so much to catch up on. But then we can also do like such a good dive on your new book because so much of the backstory's already been covered. So welcome back. I'm so happy to have you here. Firstly, how are you knowing that your third book, well, your third, I guess, like standalone novel, it's going to be out like so soon?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like last time we talked, I was going through my email to find the link for the Zoom, and it was just really fun because I think the last time we talked was in July or August of last year, and I was like,
yeah,
I love that we're doing this every year.
It's like an annual standing appointment.
Yes, honestly, I feel like in the lead up to my second book, I was a ball of anxiety. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be horrible. And I just was not enjoying it at all. But a bunch of things have changed in the last year. Most of it was me not being online anymore, aside from like, you know, the basics. And I am actually really happy. I'm excited. I'm like, so the book is going to come out. I get to go on tour with my editor and my publicist, and I love them both. My publicist, like me, is obsessed with Taylor Swift. So,
oh my God.
We're just gonna be, you know, talking about Taylor Swift nonstop.
Oh,
it's gonna be amazing.
Have you seen Taylor in concert? Have you got to go?
I have seen her twice, and I have a very overpriced ticket for a third time. And I am very mad at Ticketmaster for all of this. But I am. I think obsessed doesn't truly.
Yeah. No, I understand. I'm a Swiftie also. So like, I really get it. I went in Boston already. We like traveled from Montreal. We picked up my sister-in-law, went to Boston. I made the friendship bracelets. I had a few that said fuck Ticketmaster. Those were the first ones to go. Everyone, Ali, oh my God, how many have you made?
Okay, so these are not for the concert. These are for my book tour. And is this going to be on visual? Like, will people see what I just showed you?
Yeah. People will see. You're holding, but for those who
my God, wait. Okay, I'm sorry. I should have showered.
No, don't worry. Guys. But for those who are listening, you just pulled out a whole wad of beaded. Yeah,
it's. I have them near me, and like I tie them as I talk to people. It's just my. So they're actually for my tour, and they're like romance books and like bookish themed friendship bracelets. But like I totally got the idea from the concert. And,
stop it! That is amazing.
And it's like so much fun and so relaxing. You can just make a bracelet while you are, you know, just I don't know, listening to music, watching a show, like listening to an audiobook, and. Honestly, thank you, Taylor, for giving this to us because I feel like friendship bracelets weren't a thing for a while.
No, they were not.
And now they are again. And we owe it to you, Mother, Taylor. I love you.
It's so funny. Me and my sister I think we made like 55 in one night. We just like sat and we were just doing them while listening to Taylor. Like it was our concert prep. That was our pregame. It was so much fun. They're the cutest. It's the cutest concept. And to have a bookish one is so adorable. I love that you're doing that on tour.
I'm like, ideally there would be one for every person. I don't know if I can actually. I do have to do other things aside from friendship bracelets.
How dare you have other priorities?
So unfair of life to ask me to do other things. Like truly,
Oh,
whatever.
it's so funny. Okay, but so we last connected, I guess, in the summer, and it was right around the time Love on the Brain was coming up. But now we're here with Love Theoretically. Like, what happened in the last year? Like, tell me, what did I miss in the last year since we last chatted? Like, was this book finished? Were you still working on it? Like, tell me about everything.
Yeah, the book was finished before. Like I was already writing when Love Theoretically came out, I was already writing my next adult book that will come out next year.
Okay.
So I was kind of excited at the time. Yeah, and nervous just because my next book is going to be a little bit of a different direction for me.
Okay.
And I think I was just like very eager for that.
Yeah.
Sorry, my cat is
just
having fun with a plant.
No, so
yeah, I think that's it. What happened in the last year?
I mean, I feel like a lot happened in the last year, but especially since the last time we spoke, like Love on the Brain, like it wasn't out yet. So we didn't know how it was gonna play out. And also like following the love hypothesis, given like the insane trajectory of that book and the buzz and the hype. Like I remember us speaking and you were kind of like, fingers crossed this one pans out too. Cause it was kind of like a diamond in the rough, that first experience, like just such an anomaly of an experience. But then it ended up being friggin' amazing. Like you were like topping charts once again. Like you made magic happen twice. Like, are you so proud of what you've been able to accomplish? And like, how was that? Like, what kind of feelings are now you going into this third book with after having those types of experiences?
So first of all, thank you for saying that. Like, I'm glad that it looked like it was going well from the outside. I felt like so many of my fears about Love on the Brain happened. Like, at the time I was still online and still reading some reviews. And like, a lot of people were like, oh God, her first book was so good. And I hated the second and stuff like that. And that's totally fair. Like people should be allowed to have their own opinions. But like, it was exactly the one thing I was afraid of. Right. And I was like, oh my God, no, I'm actually a terrible writer. I'm a failure. But then there is something empowering about that. A lot of my fears about Love on the Brain kind of came true.
Okay.
I was very anxious that it wouldn't be as big as the Love Hypothesis. And, it wasn't just because the Love Hypothesis was this, big breakthrough and Love on the Brain was, a book that did well. But, and now it's sort of like everything has resetted. And like, I'm like, I had my first book, I had my second book, and now I have my third book. Like, I don't feel like my third book is I have to prove myself anymore. Right. I just feel like it's, another book, and then there will be another book, and then there'll be another book.
That's amazing.
So honestly, so much of my anxiety has died. And like, generally, 2022 was kind of a rough year for me because I am a very anxious person. I am medicated for my anxiety, and yet I'm still anxious.
Yeah. So it's a cycle.
Oh my God, I know.
Yeah.
And yet, I feel like it was my year where I had to kind of learn what is triggering for me, what it means to put out a book in the open, what kind of, how much I should participate to, just generally online spaces. And I feel like 2023 was the year that I was like, okay, I have this knowledge and now I know what to do.
You figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so 2023 has been such a better year in terms of
that's so good.
Yeah. It's truly the mental health has been much better.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. You have to like figure out what works for you and stick to that plan. But so staying offline, like what exactly have you allowed yourself to do and not do? Like what kind of boundaries have you set for yourself?
I have read 0 reviews for Love Theoretically. I don't know if people are liking it, hating it, and it's beautiful. I have asked my team at Berkeley not to tell me anything about, trade reviews. I have no idea what the pre-orders are. I have blocked all of this stuff on my computer to the degree that like I even blocked like Amazon. And when I went to buy something on Amazon, which kids don't buy things on Amazon, buy them. When I have to buy something on Amazon because I absolutely need it like the following day, I have to ask my husband because I have it blocked on all my devices.
Wow. No, you're committed. You're committed. That's
yes, I am committed. And
that's amazing.
It's been great. So yeah, it's kind of, I am in the if it's something that I need to know, my publisher will tell
Right.
me. And
Right.
if not, I will live in ignorance, and it will
I
be
love that
beautiful.
though. No, but you're setting yourself up for such a perfect way to launch this book, because now you're going to go on tour and you're just going to be surrounded by people who like love and support you. So you're literally doing the best possible thing for yourself, which is incredible. Like 100% shut out the things that are going to make you anxious or upset, and only just relish in the good shit. That's what we should all be doing.
That's what I was thinking, because I feel like the only people that I have talked to who have read the book were like, books, like my local bookstore, they got an art, for example, or, people that I've done interviews with. And these are people who I feel like if you despise the book, maybe you wouldn't ask for for an interview. And so it's like, wow, all the feedback I've gotten, 100% positive. It's an amazing book.
Oh, good. It's the best way to live. I'm so on your side of thinking, it's a perfect way to go. And as you freaking should. But speaking of really good things that have happened and really exciting things, I don't know how much we could talk about this, because I'm sure there's a bunch of legalities surrounding it, but really good news around The Love Hypothesis getting optioned for a movie, which is so exciting. I'm sure you can't tell me much, but maybe we can talk a little bit about it. But what I really want to know is your reaction to this entire process. How did you find out that this was happening? What was your reception when you found out? I know when it went public, everyone was losing their minds, so excited, whether or not it actually comes to fruition or not. Just to know that it's being worked on is so exciting. So what was your response like? How did that whole thing play out from your point of view?
Yeah. So first of all, the timings here are kind of ridiculous, because the deal came about, I think the week The Love Hypothesis came out, or the following week or something.
Okay.
I didn't even have a movie agent, but then the Love Hypothesis kind of suddenly hit the New York Times, and that's when movie agents and a bunch of people started being interested. And so I had a week where I had literally 10 calls with different producers and directors, and then I couldn't choose. So I told my movie agent, please make a choice. I trust you. You probably know what's better. Right. And she made she advised me that MRC, the company that, the producing company that's, that bought the book, would be best. And then literally nothing for a year, as in the company and the producer work on it. In that time, they found a screenwriter. I had a talk with the screenwriter where she asked me a bunch of things that she was like, we're going to be changing some things.
Right.
So is this okay? Is this okay?
Right.
What is it what is it that is non-negotiable for you and that you think absolutely needs to be in the movie? So we had a bunch of those conversations. I was very clear from the beginning that I didn't particularly want to be involved in the writing process, because I'm not I don't know anything about it. And I also feel like I am kind of so attached to the characters, the way I see them, that it really feels to me like it might be better for someone who's external and someone who knows how to adapt things for another medium to do this. So that was it. And then I think we announced it again a year after. And this is just generally typical in the industry. I think you just announced the deals much later than when the book, than when the deal is actually made. And then at some point in the winter, they sent me the script, and I read the script, and it was amazing. I was so mad because the writer
it was amazing. I was so mad.
I was furious because she came up with so many good ideas and jokes, and how did I not come up with it? I was furious. I was so funny. How dare this person be better than I am?
That's so funny.
And it was just, I loved it. I was laughing the whole time. I loved it. That there are changes that I think will make it so much better. And I am incredibly mad. And then I think other things were happening, but then the strike started. Yeah. And Yeah. And so
now
right
things are
now,
paused.
I think right now nothing is going to happen for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really like my producer. I like I have two producers, and I don't know what their differences are.
Okay.
I don't even know what a producer is, but I really like the people that I'm working with.
Amazing.
Let's just say that.
I love that. That's so good. Yeah, there's a bunch of different types. Like you can have a producer that's doing like the financial stuff. You can have a producer that's doing more creative stuff. So there's like different sides of producing. But that's so exciting. And I love that up until this point, at least, you've had some or as much as involvement as you want. Because I hear like from different authors who are having their books adapted, like you hear a range of experiences. You have the people that are like Colleen Hoover, who are super freaking involved in onset and so part of it every step of the way. And then you have the polar opposite where a book's rights are optioned and sold, and then the author has no involvement whatsoever, and it just kind of becomes its own entity. So that's amazing that you have the option to be as involved as you want to be. And so great that you have a team around you that's like really able to transform this book and make it the best possible screen adaptation. I know everyone's going to just be like on the floor unwell dead whenever it, God willing, a million times over comes out. But that's amazing that this process so far has been like very enjoyable for you and very like not stressy. And that's amazing.
Absolutely. I have to be honest at the beginning. So the conversations that I was having with the movie people were very kind of hard for me because I'm a very awkward person. And I was like, I don't understand LA people. Like, I don't understand the things they say.
Yeah.
They're so different from publishing people because publishing 100%. Is all about like the little feelings that the book gave you. Like, I feel like editors are soft souls deep down, but like I was like, I'm just not good with the LA people. But then I was in LA and I happened to go to like a dinner with my producer and my film agent, and I was like, okay, I love these people. They're amazing. And that is it's kind of like it's really nice to be able to work with someone that you 100% truly enjoy as a person. So that's great.
That's so exciting. Okay, so now I guess it's the perfect time to just talk about love theoretically, because that's why we're here. So for those who have not yet read the book that are listening to this podcast, so I am sure most people who are listening to this have read the book. What is this book about?
Okay, so it's like less than 2 weeks before the book comes out, and I still don't have a good pitch because
that's okay.
The premise is kind of complicated. So I'm just gonna go with it, and 100%. It makes sense. So it's the story of Elsie, who is a physicist who she's an adjunct professor, which means that she makes very little money. And to supplement her income, she is a professional fake dater. So people pay her to, be their fake girlfriend when they need someone for an event with their family or something like that. And her favorite client, his name is Greg, kind of takes her to a family birthday, and she meets his older brother. And his older brother clearly distrusts her and doesn't like her. So that is kind of the setup. But like I said, Elsie is also a physicist, and she is in the process of applying for the job of her dreams, which is a physicist, like becoming a physicist, a physics professor at MIT. And when she goes to interview, she finds that the older brother of the guy she's like fake dating actually works there. Yeah. And this, creates a bunch of problems because on the one hand, Jack, the older brother, knows her as a completely different person because he knows her as her fake dating persona. Yeah. And also there is the fact that he thinks that she's also lying to his little brother, and he really loves his little brother. And then, as you find out, he's also kind of attracted to her. So there is this kind of a weird, job interview situation that lasts for a few chapters. And then, they fall in love and they're happy forever. I love it. Spoiler. But,
I think anyone who's ever read a book by you can like understand the trajectory of all of your books. Like you just have such a style to your writing, but I loved this book so much. And it's just like what we know and love about your writing and like the themes and the tropes that you use. Like you just do it so well. It's always so well executed. But this one in particular, like I saw at the end of the book, you kind of made a little note about how this one really is like academia heavy and it's a bit different from your others. Why did you choose to kind of go down that route for this story in particular?
I think I was just feeling it. And it had been like I started writing the book in 2021, like in 2020. So that was when I sold The Love Hypothesis, and I was at the end of my first year as a professor. I had been through the whole like faculty search process. I was very much kind of overwhelmed by how politicky departments can be. It was my first time being, not a grad student or a postdoc. Like for the first time I was there as a professor, I was part of the faculty meeting and stuff like that. And I was like, this place is bonkers. or not my department, like literally the culture around academia is bonkers. And I just really want to talk about it. I also had several friends who were adjuncting. I was lucky I wasn't adjuncting, but like I had friends who were out of grad school for 3 or 4 years and they were still visiting professors and they didn't have health insurance. That's a big theme in the book, the fact that you don't really get benefits and you don't really get paid enough to live when you are an adjunct professor. And so all these things are things that I was feeling a lot at the time, and I just I just wanted to put them in the book. And like I put them in the book and then I sent it to my editor, and I remember thinking my editor is gonna be like,
are you kidding? Like this,
who cares about all these like minute things? And then my editor was great, and she was like, "No, we can publish this. It's fine."
So good. It's so good, and it's super niche. And I just love that all of your books again are like women in STEM, and it just I mean we're seeing a boom of it. There's so many different books now that are coming out that have these types of female characters. But for this story in particular, like what are you hoping readers kind of take away from Elsie's character in particular?
What I always say is that I just hope people get to be happy for 2, 3, 4, 7, 12 hours. I don't know. Some people listen to.
I read it in 4 hours and I did not put it down.
However many hours it takes for someone. I just, that's what reading has been to me and why it's been so important. Like when I was at my worst, reading was the one thing I could do that would like transport me to another place. And so I really just hope it makes people happy a little bit. But yeah, I also just kind of, Elsie's arc in the story is of someone who goes from being kind of a pathological people pleaser to someone who kind of stands up for herself a little more, someone who kind of is not afraid to show herself to others. And I don't know. I hope people enjoy just reading about like what it is for her to make herself more vulnerable and 100%. Like taking risks. But really, like even if they don't, then they just have fun for 2 hours. I'm happy to.
No, I think that there's a lot in Elsie's character that readers are really going to like see themselves in or relate to in some capacity. I mean, the whole kind of like imposter syndrome of it all, like I really, really related to that. And I think like young people who are reading this book will really see parts of themselves in kind of that story arc. When you were outlining this book from the very beginning, like what were some key things you knew you wanted to include like in her character trajectory throughout?
Right. So I definitely knew that I wanted her to have a chronic illness and that I wanted her to sort of like, I wanted to show how bad it is to have chronic illness and to be in a job that is a job that you are highly trained for, that you have been training for years, that it's exactly the thing you want to do. And at the same time, it doesn't give you like the basic things that you need to survive. So that was something that I knew from the very beginning. I definitely knew that I wanted her to have this thing where she kind of puts up different personas when she is with other people. But from the very beginning, like kind of at the core of the idea, I had this image of like, even before I knew his name, Jack, the hero, was the main male character was the guy who saw through her trying to pretend that she was someone else.
Right.
And that was just a lot of fun. Like I knew that I wanted to like show that he he had kind of like a window on what her real self was. And so that was also something that was right there at the beginning. What else? Oh, another thing that it's going to be a little bit of a spoiler.
That's okay.
So just
warning
your ears. Yes, warning. So I also liked, I knew that okay, spoiler, real spoiler, not a little bit of spoiler. So she ends up not getting the job.
Yeah.
And that is something that actually happens about like halfway through the book. And I knew from the very beginning that she was never going to get that job.
Okay.
And that is because she doesn't really want that job. It's just that she doesn't know it at the beginning. And on the one hand, I really wanted to write a character who tries her best. She really gives it her all. And still she doesn't get what she wants, because that is what life is like. This has happened to me many, many times. It has happened in academia, in publishing, this idea that like you can truly give it your all and then fail at something. I think it's a very important lesson for all of us. And it's something we kind of have to learn how to deal with.
For sure.
But at the same time, I really think that it ends up being a good thing for Elsie, because it makes her reevaluate what she really wants. Like, okay, so she didn't get this job that she absolutely needed. What else is a possibility? And why isn't she looking at those alternatives? And I know I always knew she wasn't going to get that job. And
it was needed. It was needed for the story, and just for her to like figure herself out. And that character arc, that plot line kind of had to be there to kind of be the catalyst for everything else. But I need to talk about Jack as a hero, because I'm just obsessed with every single one of your heroes. Like, they're all so different, yet they all have the same like swoon factor. And I just need to know, like, when creating him, were you just like dying mushy gushy? Like, is he one of your favorite heroes that you've written? Like, tell me about constructing him as a character.
Yeah, he was fun to write because, unlike Adam and Levi, he's not broody. Like, he's a very honest person. Like, he's not like someone who is not particularly reserved. He's not someone who struggles to say his emotion. He's not someone who is particularly I don't know. He's not a hero that you could have miscommunication with,
right?
Because he just says it. Yeah, he says it like it is, and it's fun. It's always fun to write someone who's just kind of open about his feelings and what he wants and what he needs.
And it's a pleasure to read. Also, I will say, as a reader, it's different. Like, yeah.
I mean, I really enjoyed writing him, and again, with someone who tells it like it is, you kind of get to make him extra swoony because he says all these things. For example, like Adam Carson would never, like he would never. Really hard for him to articulate his feelings. And then when he says something, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's like a treat.
He said something. Yeah. Jack is more open about his stuff. And so that was definitely fun to write. Yeah.
Okay, but so you just mentioned Adam, so now I have to ask, like, the Adam and Olive cameo in this book, like, what was that like to write? Are you just anticipating all of these like love hypothesis stands to be so excited? Like, tell me about that decision to include.
So originally, my outline for my book, I was gonna have kind of like a dinner where Adam, Olive, B, Levi, and then Jack and Elsie sort of end up together.
Oh my God.
And I really wanted to do that, but it kind of didn't work out because I went on a slightly different direction. It had to do with like Jack's grand gesture in the end, and it ended up, his grand gesture had ended up being something completely different. So there was no dinner. And so basicly I was like, I guess I had this idea of the cameo from the very beginning, but I was like, okay, it's not going to work out. And then, there's this moment in the story where Elsie sort of needs to be told certain things, and she needs to talk with someone who is outside of her usual circle. And on the one hand, get a little bit of a perspective on Jack from someone else. And on the other hand, just like she needs a friend. And that's when I was like, what if I introduced Olive?
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of ended up being that Adam and Olive are, visiting Boston. And and it was just, it was really fun. First of all, like it was fun to write about generally these two idiots and see and show, because they are, and show like how far they come,
Yes.
like they are in love, they're open in love, they're happy. So that was one thing. And then it just felt right to have Olive and Elsie talk about their experiences in academia with each other and just kind of like compare notes, and having Olive telling Elsie certain things.
Mm-hmm.
There was a part where I was like literally cackling, which is when Elsie is talking about her origins with Jack, and she of course doesn't tell the truth. She doesn't tell Olive, well, I was originally fake dating his brother, and her thought is because Olive probably wouldn't even know what fake dating is. And I love this.
It's so funny, like those little like niche, really niche, like if you know kind of moments. But I love also like how, and like I hope this doesn't come off like awkward, but like how you've like developed your steamy scenes, and how you've like I mean, obviously the Love Hypothesis was so steamy, and I was like shook to my core the first time I read. I think it's like there's something really funny about that. I think it's like on page 69 or something is the first scene. There was like some weird thing about the Life Hypothesis. I remember when I was reading it and I was like, this is too crazy. Like, what are the odds? But
I am so pleased. I didn't even know.
Yeah, no, there's something. I remember from when I was reading it the first time. But regardless, I love how like the steam has just kind of developed, and like the way you've written has kind of like not even really improved, just like I can tell that you're more experienced as each book goes by. So like, what is it like writing steam? Is it getting any easier? Is it getting any less awkward? Is it getting more fun? Like, how is that kind of going?
So the truth is that I've been writing very porny stuff and putting it on the internet since 2017 now. I think what has changed the most is that now I feel, so when the Love Hypothesis came out, the Love Hypothesis had more sex scenes, and we took out some because
I remember you telling me.
Just because that's what the landscape of publishing was at the time. And I'm talking about when we went on sub. Mm-hmm. So there were, books with open door scenes, but at the time, traditional publishing was kind of gravitating more toward less super steamy books. And so that's where kind of we were at. But then right now, like it feels like there's more and more smut going on. And so
good. It's so good.
I feel like nothing has changed in terms of how I've read them, but now I feel more comfortable putting all the smut that I want in the books, because, I know my editor is going to be okay with it. I mean, I definitely, my next book will have things that I never would have felt I could put in a book.
That's so interesting.
2020. And and this is really just about like, also when you are a new author and you're trying to sell your book to publishers, it's very like, it's you kind of try to make your product as perfect for publishing as possible, so that your editors are going to take a chance on you and pick it up. But then once you are kind of in and you have, say, a 3-book contract, you can have a conversation with your editor and be like, I would like to have 7 sex scenes in this book. Is it okay?
No. Okay. So now I need to know, like, your next book, obviously you've been working on it for a while and it's coming out next year. Like, is there anything you could tease about it coming out, or is it still...
So the book that I'm writing right now is another, I wouldn't say it's a rom-com, but it's set in STEM, but there's going to be another adult book coming out before then. And I have been told that I cannot talk about it yet. It's the only thing I want to talk about, though. It's literally the only thing I want to talk about. And so I'm very resentful toward my once beloved and now be hated editor who doesn't let me doesn't let me say the things I want to say. But like, yeah, I think we'll announce it in the next couple.
That's so exciting. And, it must be like really, it must be really exciting to know that like the projects that you have coming down the pipeline are things you're really enthusiastic about and like confident, you know?
I also, part of the thing is that like, when you're working on something and like right now I am in copy edits for my fourth adult book. And like, so you're kind of like, you're still working on it. So you're super happy about it. But then by the time the book comes out, you finished working on it like a year earlier or something. And so you're like, I wish I'm not even that interested in it anymore.
I know. Yeah. Like, no, well, you've been so detached from it for so long. You're so immersed in a different story. So I get that it's like hard now to like pull yourself out of what you're working on and be like, hey, now I have to go on tour to promote this book that I finished 2 years ago. Like, it's a crazy cycle. I get it. I really get it. Yeah. Okay. Well, now that you're going on tour, like, what are you most, aside from the friendship bracelet trading situation you've got going on, like, what are you most excited about? Like seeing all of your fans and readers and people that like love you. Like, what are you most looking forward to when you embark on it?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, meeting readers is the best part because it's the most like social media can be iffy and everything else can be, I don't know. It feels like there is a little bit of a filter between you and the readers, but like being on tour and doing events is the way you really connect genuinely with people. And so that's really my favorite thing. I'm just really excited to meet people. I love meeting booksellers. I feel like every time I go to an indie store, I make friends for life. The independent booksellers are just, my type, I guess.
Yeah.
So I just love meeting them. I am very excited about doing it with my editor and my publicist.
So nice.
Because, they're just cool people that I like to hang out with. I'm excited about the food, honestly, because I hope we're going to eat many good things.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will be eating good. And I hope that you post some of like what's going on Instagram so we can get some highlight reels of what's going on.
I will. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, of course.
I'm so excited. Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. As always, this is such a treat. You're like really one of my favorite people to speak to on top of being one of my favorite writers right now. So always a pleasure. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm wishing you like all of the best and all of the best things for you coming down the pipeline.
Well, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.